today we are talking about Skeleton Crew, not just episode 3, but episode 4 as well.
What do you think about Jude Law's character?
Him saying that he doesn't know who he is. If he was able to do this, he would be known as the guy that found At-Atten, right? And that is an identity. That is something that can be attributed to him.
Jod is kind of like if Han never got linked up with the rebellion.
It was really great when they hyperspace jumped and it took away the tether.
When they were going to the moon, I was like, is this going to be Maz Kanata?
When I was watching episode 4, I made another Fallout connection. This kind of looks like Fallout, like the Wasteland.
The more answers we get, the more questions I have, which is always my favorite kind of mystery, right?
She just slides from one end of like the bus or whatever to the other, and it's just like, all right, let's go. People have to know that this is meant to be ironic.
See. It's the beginning.
Hello there, everyone, and welcome back to Mortis FM, the Star Wars podcast. I am Grayson, one of your hosts.
I am Cole, the other host. Grayson, today we are talking about Skeleton Crew, not just episode 3, but episode 4 as well.
Yep, we got a little bit of a week behind, but we're talking about episode 3, very interesting as an astrogation problem, and episode 4, can't say I remember no At-Atten.
Can't say I remember no At-Atten.
You do that impression way better.
Grayson, we're gonna. I'm just gonna go with what I did last time. 5 words. Describe episode 3 for me, in your opinion.
Okay. Jocasta New Owl. She cool.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, I'll respond to that. Owl Lady. Neat. Astrogation. Nice.
You know what that it reminds me of? Like, there's a part in Spider-Man 3 where Ted Raimi's character is just like he's like pitching to J. Jonah Jameson the bullet point letters. It's like, and how? That was my idea.
that is exactly what that sounded like. That's perfect.
That's great.
It's pretty good.
So we both liked Kim, is what we're agreeing to.
Yeah, she was cool. Little Star Wars owl with like the Lobot
implant.
Implant, and again, just really nice world building. That is fresh and new.
Yeah.
And seemingly doesn't have anything to do with stuff that we've seen before.
Yeah. So I think we had seen Kim in like the trailer or something, but to be honest, I kind of forgot. Like I didn't remember that. So like when they first were going to the moon, I don't know if it was ever actually named, but I was like, I didn't realize where they were going. I was like, oh, who is his friend? Like, he's a pirate. I'm like, is this gonna be Maz Kanata? And then I was like, oh yeah,
I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah, I was like, because that is one of the characters like we had talked about in our first episode that I'm like, if there's going to be a character from another project that is kind of more well known, she would be one of my higher choices just because I think she fits. But I'm not like, I certainly wasn't upset when Kim showed up. But before I kind of get into all of that, I guess I completely forgot because I was like in my mind, I'm like, oh, at the end of episode 2 is when they get away from Port Borgo, but that's not true. Like the entire first half of the episode is them getting away from Port Borgo.
Yeah, because I think it was like, doesn't it immediately start with like, all right, we're going,
Yeah, because the end of episode 1, end of episode 2, he gets the key and pulls it towards him, and then episode 3, it jumps like right into it of them breaking out, and they're kind of like, why are you coming with us? Like, why didn't you just break out yourself? And he was just like, there's no point in me breaking out if I don't have a ship to get off.
Wait,
let's just go ahead and I just want to talk about Jod. We're gonna call him Jod because I think that's kind of seems to be his, at least what the kids call him, and we don't really know. Like, I'm going to say that seems to be like his most real name.
Judd Law. We're talking about Judd Law.
What do you think about Jude Law's character, Captain Silvo, Jadnana Wood, Crimson Jack?
Yeah, based off of what we've seen, and I'll say this like in addition to our knowledge of episode 4 and whatnot, he's a very perplexing character.
Yeah.
You can tell that he is absolutely teetering on the scum and villainy sort of thing. He's like he's like Han Solo if Han leaned a bit towards more skullduggery as opposed to doing what's right, you know? And it seems like Jod is but I mean it seems like Jod does have that Han Solo quality though, where like he seems to be kind of fighting what his nature is, if that makes sense.
You know what a really good combination of characters he's kind of like, and this kind of makes sense because this first character is a lot like Han for obvious reasons. He's kind of like Tobias Beckett combined with Ezra's kind of like hijinks and like season 1 early innate ability in the Force. You know, like
that's a good way of putting it. Yeah,
because he's not, at least, you know, for most of Solo, Tobias Beckett is not like a full-on scumbag. And he's got that like that skullduggery feel to him, and Jod definitely has that.
Yeah, they both have that quality of like they've been seasoned from what this sort of life is, which is that you need to look out for yourself and yourself only. But then he seems to be fighting this nature of maybe wanting to do the right thing.
Yeah.
But then he's like, he just kind of like falls back into old habits and whatnot. Like,
right.
I think in episode 3, I believe, they were like, so you're not a Jedi, or like he's not a Jedi. And he's like, I didn't exactly say that I was, you know?
Yeah, he's just like, I never quite said that, you know? Because it was always the kids like, you're a Jedi, and he's just kind of like, maybe.
If that's what you want to believe, you know?
And like, there's a really good part where I just love like the banter between him and the kids. Like, there's a part where they're trying to escape, and like he's able to, like, he sees like a thug coming down a hallway or something, and he's just like, oh, like. And Wim is like, you really are a Jedi, you know? And then KB does it later on where they're about to go out again, and she's like, wait. And then Fern is like, oh, so I guess KB's a Jedi too, you know? Or like later on when they get back to the Onyx Cinder, and then they're like, we gotta get SM-33. And he's just like, we're not going back for a droid or whatever. And they're just like, but like, you're a Jedi, like no man left behind. And he just kind of does like this, sure, you know, like, why not?
Yeah, I think like later, like a later scene, he references that or something, or because they say like Jedi, you know, no man left behind, and he says like, that's not what they say, or like that's not.
And he's just like, and he even says, he's like, well, he's a droid, so you know, like, he's not even a person.
Well, okay, so then like in terms of his actual character, there's something that he says later on in the 3rd episode, where before they let him onto the ship, before they leave, he's like they ask him like, who are you? Like, what do you, and he just says like, I'm nobody, you know, I don't know, right?
Yeah.
And that feels like probably the most honest thing that he has said, which is that like he's trying to find out who he is. He really doesn't know. He doesn't have anybody. And so I'm really teetering on like, he can use the Force, but he's not, he's never been trained. He's never met another Force user, I'm willing to bet. And so he feels very alone.
Yeah.
And is just super, super isolated. So, I think overall impressions of the character are very interesting, and I really enjoy Jude Law's performance.
Oh yeah.
So
he doesn't seem like he's doing it for just a paycheck, at least from, I mean, based on his performance, like, I mean, maybe he is, and yet he's still buying into it or whatever. I doubt that though. Like Jude Law and everything that he does, like he really does a good job. And to be honest, like, in a way, not like in terms of character similarities, but you know, I'm a big Spider-Man fan, which by the way, there's something in episode 3 that I made a reel about. I don't know if you know about it already, but regardless, Jude Law's character is kind of like Peter B. Parker in the sense that like he's kind of cynical, he's kind of in it for his own gain, you know, and like whereas the kids are like Miles Morales, right? We're just like, you know, you don't do these things or whatever, and then it's like it's the reluctant heroism, the cynical heroism sort of thing, where it's just like obviously the difference is that Peter Parker was a hero and now he's just like doesn't care anymore. This is a guy who's like he just doesn't know who he is, and it seems like every turn something bad has happened, right? Like, you know, because it kind of seems, I mean, that he's trying to find this treasure not only for his own gain, but to also like his own riches, but also for the gain of getting that respect back, you know, because I mean, he's pretty much been overturned by Captain Brutus because he led them to like what they thought were going to be all these riches, and then it was nothing. So he's like
a massive
desperate.
Reputation boost for him. Which you know would kind of call to him saying that he doesn't know who he is. So like if he was able to do this, he would be known as the guy that found At-Aten, right? And that is an identity. That is something that can be attributed to him. Yeah. So
and much like you said, even with Han, back to your comparison of Han. Like, Jod is kind of like if Han never got linked up with the rebellion. Like, you have to think that, like, Han would still be out there in the galaxy trying to pay back that debt to Jabba, trying to make ends meet, trying to get that respect, but always falling short and just being like, who am I? You know, like, you know, Han's destiny was to find his he found his family, you know, he found his wife, he found his best friend, you know, like he fought for something greater than himself. And it's like maybe Jod never got that opportunity, you know?
Well, if it, and I know that this is really arbitrary in the description, but this seems fitting to me. Even though Han, as far as we know, doesn't use the Force, like is not a Force user, and Jod is, Jod feels like what Han Solo would be if the Force was not working through him. You know, like in the sense that Jod just always seems like down on his luck, always drawing the short straw, you know, and that even though he can use the Force, he's very disconnected from himself and from the galaxy, and like he doesn't really have this thing that seems to be calling to him. Meanwhile, like Han always seemed like, even in Solo, like he was destined for something that was just bound to happen. Right.
I guess it's like Han ended up, whether he realized it or not, kind of following the path of the living Force, in the sense of like the tides of fate and you know, good versus evil, whereas Jod is not, because there's I mean, I would say, or you could even say like the cosmic force, you know, like, I don't know. I feel like maybe cosmic force is more like your abilities, whereas living force is more like, you know, the tug and the balance of light and dark and character decisions and these things happening to one another. And like, I mean, we talked, like I mentioned with the FFG system, like those destiny points, right? Of flipping one in your favor. And it's like, for Han, it always kind of seems to work out. But maybe it wouldn't have had he not gone back to save Luke at the Death Star. You know, maybe he would find himself in Jod's position. So, you know, I'm intrigued to see if we will ever find out what, like, how long Jod has been in this position. Like, you know, has he been like this his whole life? Was there kind of like a crux moment where he kind of went on this path? I don't know.
Yeah, I think like it would be very interesting to see his childhood.
Oh, yeah.
What would be interesting is like he's not like an Order 66 survivor, right? Because like I don't think we need another one of those. But like imagine if he was a Force sensitive child that was, you know, one that was that the Empire attempted to corral or whatever have you, and maybe he was just kind of ushered along the path to the point where he just didn't really know anybody, didn't have anything. Maybe the path was destroyed and he was like, well, I don't know what to do now. You know, I don't know where my parents are. I don't know where these people, you know, I just gotta keep
the
this
way
hidden,
you're describing
you know?
it sounds like Ezra if he never met the Ghost Crew, you know?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Like
So,
Ezra would have been like, well, I don't have my parents anymore. Who am I? I guess I'm just this scoundrel pirate ruffian, you know? Like,
yeah.
he could have got integrated with Hondo and, you know, been doing all these little things, but no, he ended up finding his family. And so maybe Jod is finally finding that, but in a way he didn't expect, you know? Like, I could definitely see a face turn of, like, him realizing, like, oh, well, maybe like, I don't know who I am. It's like, well, maybe who I am is to take care of these kids, right? Like, I don't know. I hope.
I've got a neat little prediction here, actually.
Okay.
So we are constantly being ushered into the sights of, like, Wim wanting to see a Jedi and seeing Jedi stuff, like what this Jedi temple mausoleum thing could be on AT-ATN, right? And they're definitely not letting go of the idea, if you know what I mean. So, like, they're constantly bringing it back every single episode. Wim's always talking about it. Jedi, 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 right?
Yeah.
It's even being used for, like, a gag. So what if Jod, like, imagine they get to AT-ATN or something, and in order to do whatever it is that they need to do, like access this temple or something, it needs to be accessed by what it says, a Jedi, you know? And Jod, being the only person who can use the Force, kind of has to stand up and take the role of what he was initially kind of pretending that he was.
Right.
And so, like, yeah, it is kind of like Force and Destiny, right?
Right.
Where he ends up taking the role of, like, a quote unquote Jedi, even though, like, it's not something that he was really intending to be.
Right.
I feel like that could be a good kind of culmination of his character, of kind of like stepping up to the plate of going, like, maybe I should be a Jedi, you know, in a galaxy that it feels like there aren't any.
Yeah.
I guess I have to go look for some now. You know, I don't know. I feel like that could be a really neat way of just kind of tying his character in.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and even what we see in episode 4, which we'll get to in a little bit here, I see him stepping up a little bit in a way, you know, like, and maybe not in the most Jedi-like way entirely, but you know, he's getting closer, you know, it's not just like a 0 to 1 thing, right? Or a 0 to 100. It's just like it's a gradual increase. But before we get into, like, you know, episode 4 stuff, I just wanted to talk about, like, a couple more of the moments in episode 3, specifically, like, the chase that they have at the end.
Oh yeah.
Where, like, it's funny to, like, think about, but, like, when they're getting away from Kim and Kim calls the New Republic, it's this interesting, like, perspective where, like, because we are, like, obviously we know more about what's going on in the greater galaxy, like, we know that the New Republic are the good guys, right?
Yeah.
But, like, they kind of don't know that. And I just think it's really funny. Like, it's a really cool scene where when Wim and they, like, you know, when Neil is, like, piloting the ship and they're, like, freaking out. They're like, Neil, like, why him? You know, but then, like, he gets to go on the gun and then him just getting to see, like, out of the dome thing. But then he just starts shooting at these New Republic.
Oh, this is okay. Here's something I wanted to bring up. X-wing stun laser.
X-wing stun laser.
You remember when, like, because the X-wing uses they fire a stun, like a stun blast to turn up. Yeah, because they're not, like, shooting lethally because the children are on board.
Oh, right. And
so one of the X-wings, like, uses a stun shot, and I, like, it's not that I thought that they wouldn't be equipped with them, but as far as I know, that's, like, the first time I've seen it happen in live action.
When you say stun shot, was it like the O-ring thing, or was it just like a blue, like, bolt that hit the ship?
It was like the multi-layered O-rings, like, you know.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah,
I must have missed that.
It was really cool. It was really cool.
Because, I mean, my first instinct, I thought maybe I just was not paying attention. I just assumed that they shot an ion shot where they were just trying to disable the ship, you know, just, like, try try to like get it to land.
Yeah, see, because that might be kind of, I don't know, interchangeable, like ion and stun shot, but like it had the same ring.
Right.
I was like, oh, that was cool.
Based on like Star Wars Squadrons, they like you can full on like customize your ship and stuff. And although that like stun shot thing is not in there, you can customize like your auxiliary ability and then your like your secondary weapon and your your main laser. Like, do you want it to have high rate of fire, have more powerful shots, or be a rotary cannon or whatever? So like, I definitely could see an X-wing doing that, but that's a cool thing. I mean, yeah, because you got to think like we see ships getting destroyed all the time, but like practically there's probably a lot of scenarios where they're like, we need to ground this ship, you know, without hurting or damaging what's inside, you know.
Right. Also, I mean, also the New Republic is still constantly in that demilitarization process. So
right.
I mean, but I think chiefly it was like, I mean, the kids are on board. I don't want to shoot it down. That thing looks like it'll fall apart any second. So
yeah. And, and then the kids or the pilots are like dodging around the. I'm not gonna lie. When one of those pilots showed up, I thought it was gonna be like one of them was gonna be Carson Teva.
I absolutely thought one of them was gonna be as well. I mean, I know that I heard Jon Favreau on the comms.
Oh, was that him?
I mean, like, I don't have any confirmation, but it sounded just like him, and I was like, man, he's got to be in there.
That's like the 7th Jon Favreau, you know, like character. So speaking of Jon Favreau and then character voices, again, I already made a reel about this just because I was so pumped about it. But did you catch the surprise appearance in the episode?
Of what am I missing here? I don't think so.
I'll give you a hint. It was Benjar Pranik, the Ishi-Tib that talks to Jod when he saves SM-33. Did you know who that was?
Oh, I don't think so.
I'll give you second hint. We'll make it a game out of it. The second hint was he was in one of John Watt's movies.
Oh my goodness. Oh, this is so embarrassing. Just pretend that I gave you the answer and then you confirm it back to me.
No, you got to play along.
No,
we'll funnel it down. He was in one of the Spider-Man movies.
So he was one of the guys that what was he like the guy that was like, well, maybe I should tell Brutus that
he's the guy. He's just like, Captain Silvo, is that you? You know, he's the guy. He's got Ishi-Tib are the green guys with the beaks.
Yeah.
And he was the guy that he was like hobbling in when he went to the little droid factory, and he was like, maybe I should tell him or whatever.
Yeah, his voice did not sound familiar to me.
So his character's voice does not sound like what it does in the movie that John Watt's previous movie.
Yeah.
I'll say that he was also not just in a John Watts movie, but was in one of the previous Spider-Man movies before that too.
There's no way that was Willem Dafoe, was it?
Not Willem Dafoe. You're getting very close.
Alfred Molina?
It was Alfred Molina.
Really? What was he doing in there?
Yeah, I guess.
That's great.
Which I think is a great connection as well. I said this in the reel, is Alfred Molina was in, this is not his first Lucasfilm contribution. He was Satipo, the guy in the opening of Raiders of the Lost Ark with Indy.
You are absolutely right. Wow.
Yeah. So it's kind of a weird full circle thing because like Indiana Jones is kind of like Skeleton Crew's kind of like Indiana Jones, where they're hunting for this treasure, and then he was in that, but then he also was in Spider-Man No Way Home. So it probably was a thing of John Watts or Alfred Molina just being like, hey, can I be in Skeleton Crew? And he's just like, yeah, I got this random character. And he just, it's just his normal voice, but he just is making it a little bit more piratey, you know?
That's such a neat little connection there. Yeah. I love that. That's great.
I heard it immediately. I was just like, this Alfred Molina. I was like, I have to make a reel about that.
That's insane that you knew that immediately.
Oh, dude. It's from how many times I watched Spider-Man 2.
Respect.
Yeah. So it was a cool little connection. Also, that little droid shop or little repair shop was neat when he's getting SM-33 in episode 3.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like the battle droid.
The B1, like, did we win?
Yeah,
that's
like their go-to. Apparently, Connor made a reel about it, and they say that in Survivor when you turn them on.
Yeah, and in Bad Batch, where like on the conveyor belt, like what's happening? Did we win?
This like they're just always like, did we win? There was a droid in the background that I was really trying to pay attention to, and I didn't get time to pause. But it looked like an Old Republic droid, but I cannot for the life of me identify what it was.
I'm gonna have to go back and take a look.
Yeah, I'll have to see if there's anything significant there.
Yeah.
But also, before we move on to episode 4, one thing I have to mention is how good the CG is in this show, specifically when they're trying to escape Port Borgo and they're attached to the fuel line tether and it's like hitting everything. I was like, this looks so good, dude.
Yeah, I think I'll just kind of piggyback on that and say that it was really great when they hyperspace jumped and it took away the tether, and I was like, oh, is that thing gonna? And then like it just snapped back, and
all those guys are just like screaming.
Yeah, dude, if you got hit by that, you are dead. You are dead and done. And that was really cool. So I think what I have noticed is that Skeleton Crew takes a lot of ideas that would be considered like I don't know, it kind of feels like you're sitting at a table with your friends and going like, it'd be really cool if like in Star Wars like this thing happened. Like, oh, like what if we hyperspace jumped but it's connected to a tether? Like what would happen then?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, it feels like a fun sandbox, if you will. I dig it. I dig it a lot.
Yeah. So the last thing, which kind of transitions us into episode 4, and we might as well just kind of hop into it, is again the further speculation of what the heck is going on with At-Atten. So Kim confirmed some knowledge for us that At-Atten was one of the like original jewels of the Old Republic, and they were kind of hidden away more or less, like tucked away, and they get the coordinates to what they, like she described, like they described the planet and everything like that, and she's just like, oh, I can filter it down, and they get the coordinates, of course, then they get away. Kim is unscathed, but they get away. Well, then we get to episode 4 where they get to where they think, oh, this is At-Atten, right? And they land, and it is visually like almost a mirror of At-Atten, but it is completely dilapidated. And I want to give a props to you, because I'm hearing more and more of this likening, and you were the first person that at least I heard mention it, even as early as episode 2, is that these planets feel like vaults from Fallout. Yeah. This is a vault that did not stay running and operational and all happy. This is a vault that went to crap.
Yeah, see, I was thinking, it's funny because like I had even forgotten that I had made this connection. Yeah. But then when I was watching episode 4, I made another Fallout connection, but not the same one. I was like, this kind of looks like Fallout, like the Wasteland. Yes, So exactly. So one of them looks like the vault, and the other one looks like the Wasteland, right?
Yeah. I mean, even down to like the opening of Fallout 4, when it's like you see the swing set and the little carousel thing on the playground, and then you're getting the wide shot of all of the suburbs. And they're all, the trees are all, rotted away and non-living, and all of the houses are like overgrown, but it is a duplicate. Like it quite literally is. I mean, they go to where Fern's house would be, and it looks almost identical. And they're like, well, did we get like warped into, like, did we get like, did we get like held back in time? Like, did we come back and now something's happened to it or whatever? Yeah. But we figure out.
Yeah, it does. I mean, it really is vault-like, because if they're straight up duplicates, there must have been like different types of experiments going on. Yeah. Because it wouldn't, I mean, at least I doubt that it would have been the same thing with the same idea of it, right? Right. So that does kind of beg the question as to what happened on this place, which we are then revealed it to be called At-Akron. Akron, yeah. And then there's a couple of other ones. I don't remember all the names off the top of my head, but it's basically they all start with at, and then it's at like at
Abon or whatever, like it's all a bunch of different words, like starts with an A and ends with an N. But something that I think they even mentioned in episode 3 as well is they're talking about like what their family does, and they're like, oh, my mom, like, there's an analyst, and they're like, well, an analyst for what? Like, oh, and she reports to like not the overseer, but like the supervisor or whatever. And they're like, but no one's allowed to go to the supervisor tower and stuff. And you're like, what is all this fishy? But even I forgot completely to mention the opening of episode 3, which was a kind of a hot speculation of we get that cold open of the parents with like Wendell and Fern's mom and KB's parents and Neil's parents, and they're all like talking with the droids, and they're like, oh, we can't contact the Republic, it's outside of the safe zone, and blah blah blah. And all of them seem like they're kind of, but he's just like, Wendell is just kind of like, he takes his glasses off, and he's just like, he kind of has like the filtered out of like all of the background noise, and it's like, yo, what's going on with Wendell? Like, what is
he cooking? What's going on in there? He knows something, and it's got to be related to Wim's mom,
Oh, you think so?
I feel like this is what is causing Wendell to kind of like be very pensive about this. And
like,
also,
do you think maybe Wim's mom like disappeared as well, and they never went to go search for her, and he's like, this is the same story again, right?
It has a, oh my goodness, it has another, it's another connection to Fallout,
Yeah. Oh
where,
my
like,
god. Oh yeah, you're right. The parrot going off into the wasteland sort of thing.
It's all there. So like, and also I was curious because I thought that Fern's mom was like the supervisor or like the head honcho or whatever. But even she doesn't know what's going on. She's like
she reports to the supervisor or something.
Yeah.
Like she's like the Starscream to the unknown Megatron.
Yeah.
Like
I'm wondering if the supervisor is like an AI or like a droid or something like that.
That's what so we see, we're kind of jumping to the end of episode 4, but they go to the supervisor tower on Akron, and it's like, it weirdly kind of looks like a Jedi temple, council chamber, but
it's got those like old glyphs.
Yeah, and they're like, it's got all of the coordinates and stuff. Of course, the one for Atten is missing, because why wouldn't it be? But like, it's like, okay, is this how it is on all of the planets? And if so, like, why are they not allowed to go up there? Like, are they not allowed? Like, well, clearly they didn't know that there was other planets like their own.
And I mean, what's so special about Atten compared to the other ones? Is Atten the only one that hasn't been, just like, completely messed up? Maybe like someone knew that like something was happening to these other planets, and so they removed knowledge of Atten just to keep it safe, and just kind of tossed it away. I don't know.
All of this doesn't feel like traditional proper Republic stuff. This feels like, but it feels too early to be anything that like Palpatine would have done, like this doesn't, like otherwise the Empire would have been involved.
Well, I feel like it's what I think it is, I think we had spoken about this before. It's like, it is probably something that was like intended to be good. It was like an old, like just a Republic thing. And then maybe Palpatine was like, this is cool, I'm going to do something with this,
Yeah.
And just kind of turn it into something else. So I don't know.
I mean, but it's also intriguing because it's like, they don't even know anything about the Clone Wars or anything else, but it seems like Akron has been affected, because when we get the reveal that there's like this kind of civil war happening between is it the Troik and the
Troik
like
and the Hattak or something?
Yeah, the Hatton, I think, the HATT. Yeah. They've got, some of them have Imperial gear, it seems like some of them have like the helmets from the Mud Troopers and stuff.
I thought that I was noticing, like, is that an Imperial like gunner helmet?
Yeah. I mean, it still is a little bit more primitive, but maybe not as primitive as something like Peridia, for example, where these bandits seem to be just living on the land. So, yeah, I don't like. We're not I mean, the more answers we get, the more questions I have, which is always my favorite kind of mystery, right? Is the layering of like, well, we got the answer and now we just have more questions. And I mean, literally in the first episodes, we were speculating about like the Old Republic ties and stuff. Like, I would be even as bold to say, like, still am intrigued by the idea of this being something of the Eternal Empire or Vitiate or something, dude, you know, which like if they do that, I would be like blown away. I don't think they will do that, but I don't know.
You know how insane that would be? Because like how like leading up to this, we were like, yeah, I mean, I guess we're kind of excited for Skeleton Crew, and then like it ends up being just, you know, this is where Vitiate is brought into canon. That would be so insane. I mean, come on.
There is a trend, it seems, when Andor, like I think about this show and Andor, where like even just as far as it's gone on, like when Andor got announced, I was like, oh, that's cool. Like, I'm sure that'll be, you know, a fun show. And then it ended up being just like a master class in storytelling.
It's always the sleeper hit, man.
Right. And I was about to say, how many jokes we made about Skeleton Crew, not because I wasn't excited for it, but mainly because I was just like, I don't know anything about this show. I don't we haven't really got anything. And now it's like, but it has become this awesome, like this show that everybody seems to be enjoying, except for like the diehard grifters that are just like, this sucks, you know, whatever. And to those
never
guys,
gonna be happy.
I'm just like, I just tune them out, you know, like, I still, and at this point, it's just become like a laughable thing of like the amount of people that I meet that are like, or that I see online that are just like, oh, you're not a real Star Wars fan because you like this, And I saw that this is, I'm not going to go super down on this rabbit hole, but I saw an interesting quote today because the day that we're recording this, the Superman trailer came out, which is very good if you like
Superman. Trailer.
I'm a big Superman fan. We like DC around here. We had a full 30-minute conversation about DC before we recorded this. Regardless, I saw something about James Gunn was talking about how, you know, the release of that movie and stuff like that, how it's kind of, you know, it's at a good time, it's at a proper time. And he started talking about online presence and how he basically said people get along a lot better in person than they do online. You know, like absolutely. He's like, most people are at each other's throats online. Whereas like, if you take that away, you realize we have a lot more in common than you might think. And a lot of this like kind of, you know, toxic bigotry and, you know, just like gatekeeping and stuff just doesn't happen when you're face to face with a person. You know, when you're face to face with a person, you can agree to disagree and you can shake their hand and stuff. And it's like, and you can get along. I have people that don't have the same opinions as me, but regardless, I just thought that was a very interesting point that James Gunn made. But
definitely right.
I'm happy that for the most part, people are really enjoying this show. Like even people that I didn't think were going to like this show and be like, this isn't for me. They're like, I really like this show. Like I'm really enjoying it. And that makes me happy just to see, because it's like, I'm enjoying it. Like, I think it's a great show.
Oh, yeah, me too.
I don't think it's my favorite Star Wars show. There's some people that are like, this is rising to be like their favorite Star Wars show. And I'm like, that's incredible, dude. Like, I could not have imagined that, right?
It's a good moment.
Yeah.
Because I was honestly thinking, like, the months leading up to it, I was like, man, I don't know. I feel like this is just, it's indicative of like the decline in quality. Like, I don't know. Like, maybe people are just gonna trash on it. It's gonna be, but I mean, it seems to continue to impress me. I've really loved every episode so far.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess we'll just have to see how it goes on, really.
Yeah. Circling back to the plot, we mentioned a little bit, and there's kind of more to that whole Old Republic speculation, but I kind of just want to talk about how like episode 4 is a very like Neil centric episode. And it's like, dude, ever since you told me that Neil gives Rowley energy from I cannot unsee that, and it makes me love him so much more, dude.
He's
like
such a precious little guy, and he's pulling this like really, really badass Troik girl.
Okay.
Who's so over the top.
I know. I need to talk about her because I saw someone bashing, and I knew it was gonna happen. Someone was gonna pick apart this because when it first happened, I laughed. I was like, "What was that?" And I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. So like the first thing is, I didn't do it to this, but like she's like, they're like, "We need to get into cover." They're like, "Oh, what flag do you fly or whatever?" And she like runs and she grabs onto the door and kicks the door in, and I was like, "Oh, that was kind of cool." And then like after like all of them get away and like the Eopies pass and the Hattons and everything, she's like, she puts on a helmet and just slides for no reason.
She just slides from one end of like the bus or whatever to the other, and she's like, "All right, let's go." But then the worst offender, I'll say, of this is when she says bye to Neil. She just does like a kickflip over this obstacle and just keeps going. I'm like, this is, people have to know that this is meant to be ironic,
right?
Like,
yeah,
she's absolutely meant to be like Neil's manic pixie dream girl of like,
right,
where you know, he's just like, oh my god, you know, it's like, it's really great. It's really great.
I saw someone, they were picking it apart and they were like, "What was that?" And at first it was funny, and then I realized they were kind of like, they were trying to trash on it, and they pulled the clip of actually it was weird. It was, I saw it, but it was a clip of, it was all of those, and then the last clip was when Jod hits the back of SM33 to turn him off, and then he started laughing at that and was playing a clip of like in Book of Boba Fett, the guy doing the spin, you know, like the iconic, and I was like, wait, what's it? It's like Jod hitting the button has nothing to do with that. That was a very weird thing, but like it does give that energy. But the difference is with the girl, I believe her name is like Raina or something. I'm totally blanking.
I think it starts with an H. I really want to say like,
it's something like that. I'm not gonna worry about it right now. But I think about when I was a kid and how when my parents would put me into like sports and stuff, and like I have a very, very vivid memory. Enjoy this, audience, where I was integrated in a church like basketball league. So I was a kid, and and like we would have different teams and stuff, and so each church had like a different like team, and if there was too many people, they would have multiple ones or whatever. And so that was how I started playing basketball.
Yeah, it was the same for me. I do that too.
So that was at a phase where I was really into Power Rangers, man.
Let's go.
You know what Power Rangers do? They do cartwheels.
Bunch of flips.
They do flips and cartwheels. I kid you not. I do remember this, actually. I would be lying. Apparently there were a handful of games where the entire time that we were playing, I was just doing cartwheels across the court, and everyone was just laughing because I was not playing the objective. I was just trying to like instead of running across the court, I was just doing cartwheels, just trying to like, and because I thought it was fun, right? And obviously I was younger, and this, you know, the girl seems to be a little bit older.
Yeah.
But what's important to note is that in this society, the kids are treated like adults, and they seem to be very sheltered. Like, she seems to be like, she's really good at combat and stuff, but she's really socially awkward.
Yeah.
You know? Like, she's like, oh, let me show you this big cannon and stuff like that, right? Yeah. And it's just like, and yeah, I mean, that's cool, but she is a kid trying to be a survivor and fight in a war. Whereas, like, Neil is a kid with a nurturing family and stuff like that. And so it's like, I imagine that a socially inept girl who has these abilities would probably do that as a, like, to pull rank on a kid and be like, hey, look how, like, I'm so cool. Look at, you know, because it's like, these are kids that she's never met before. She wants to make an impression on them. She wants to be the chieftain of the Troik. Like, so she's gonna just be like, yeah, like, and do all these really extra things,
I mean, yeah, she's probably used to like having to inspire the kids around her, because she seems to be the daughter of the head honcho. Which, by the way, it really seems like just one dude that has a bunch of child soldiers.
Yeah.
So it's making me wonder, like, is this guy like really the good guys? Because like all he's doing is like, I mean, he literally gave Neil and Fern and Wim and KB, like, just gave them sticks and was like, prove yourselves by being on the front lines and going up against them, right? Like, I don't think that's good. I really don't think that's good.
No, I agree. I thought, I was like, this guy kind of sucks.
Like, yeah, I actually, in the inverse of that, I think it is great that when Jod gets captured by the other like clan, you don't see anything about them. You don't know anything about them or what they do, and so we actually we still can't really say like, oh, like, I mean, maybe they're just as bad. I don't know. But then Jod just shows up and he's like, hey, I got the EOPs. I'm here for the kids.
Which was such that was such a like that moment. Oh my God, there's a moment, dude, that I have to talk about that I know you probably found so funny, and because I was just like, I know you and I were cracking up about this when they go off on their own and and Jod has to stay with the ship. And SM-33 turns on the baby protocol, and he's just like, "Come on, baby!"
He's like, "Come here, baby!" Yeah,
I was like,
"It's so perfect." I love SM-33 so much, man. Yeah, I really do.
Yeah. But then obviously, like when the Hattons show up, and I just love. There's like a moment where when they have him captured, and I don't remember what they're saying. He was just like, "Just shoot me!" Like, it's like,
yeah. It's like as soon as they're like, put your hands up. He's just like, "Oh, just shoot me." No, there was another funny moment where they're like, "How did you trade for those EOPs?" And then Wim's just like, "Did you take my dataries?" And then Jod's just like, "Yeah," like, yeah. And he immediately just concedes, like, doesn't lie about it. So maybe that is a little bit of development there. I don't know.
I mean, I saw it as that was a thing. I was like, well, it was kind of a Jedi way to, like, I could see Qui-Gon Jinn doing something like that, where he's just like, I mean, because we see him do some kind of shady stuff in the Phantom Menace, and so
credits will do fine.
right. It's just going, he's flipping the chance cubes and stuff like that. But like. That was, I thought, was a clever moment when they're all going out, and then he's just out there and he just has the EOPs, and he's just like, I just bought them back, like, and I was like, I just really enjoy, like, this show is like weirdly, like, I feel like with some of the shows, like, I'm kind of like, oh man, we only have one episode left and there's still kind of all of this unresolved stuff. Whereas like with Ahsoka, for example, before we knew there was a season 2, I was like, oh man, they still have to wrap up like the Balin and Shin stuff. We have one episode left. Like, what are they going to do? Yeah. And then it was like, oh no, there's more to the story. Whereas this, like, I thought them, which it still kind of is, but like, I thought them getting back to Atten was going to be kind of like the entire plot of the show, which I guess it is, because by episode 4, they're not on Atten, but like, it's going in more places than I thought it would, and going at a faster pace than I thought it would, which I've really enjoyed. And I've seen people being like, oh, this is kind of like a filler episode, but I'm like, no, like, I think this is great, because much like, these campaigns that I always reference and stuff of like, this is a natural step of the plot. It's bringing the characters together, and it also revealed kind of a crucial point in the story regarding SM-33, which, do you want to go ahead and talk about that now?
Yeah. So it looks like, so of course, as you had said before, of course the coordinates to Atten are gone. It's destroyed, and then it's revealed that SM-33 was essentially ordered to, like him and Crimson, not Crimson, but like him and his captain had destroyed these coordinates, and then his captain ordered him to not remember it, to just kind of lock it away, and if someone attempted to go poking around, to retaliate.
Yeah.
And actually, specifically, rip them limb from limb.
Yeah, they even
which
said
he
that
tried
anybody
to
that
do.
saw anybody who saw the coordinates, they killed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's God, pirates, man.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? I guess
It's cool. I'm curious. Like, I really want to know if we're going to figure out who the captain was. I don't think it'll be anybody significant, but I just want to know, like, who was this captain? You know, like,
yeah. And what happened to him?
Right.
You know?
Yeah. I'm like, because I mean, I think that's their corpse on the ship. Like,
well,
but we don't really know. Like, we don't really find out.
There were a few of them, right?
Yeah, there was a handful.
Yeah, and really, what happened to? I mean, just what happened to them? Did they crash on At-Aten, or were they shot down? Did they reach where they want to go, and then like something happened? I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
And I mean, full honesty, I was really worried that SM-33 was gonna get popped like then and there. I was like, oh no, he turned against the party, and now they're just gonna destroy him.
Yeah.
I hope that when they power him back on, they can kind of get him to chill out.
It was interesting because like Fern overrides the protocol for him to like be able to be truthful about it, but then she's also like, he's like, oh, my old captain ordered this, but I'm like, well, but the way your logic was going, the way your programming was going, SM-33, that doesn't matter now. So I'm kind of hoping that like when they boot him back on, it'll be a thing of like, okay, listen to me, I'm the captain. That order doesn't like you don't tear people from limb anymore. But I saw Will actually do a pretty interesting theory that I would love to read on here. Will, do not get upset with me if I read your theory. I've mentioned a couple of his theories before, and he has always been very gracious about it. But so go follow Will of the Force if you're not already. If you're following us, you probably are. He's way cooler than us. He says, what if SM-33 isn't who he claims to be? Spoilers for Skeleton Crew. And then he says, what if SM-33 destroying the coordinates was actually a direct command from At-Aten? What if the leaders of At-Aten are the ones that ruined SM-33's memory after sending him out to cover up any breadcrumbs? What if At-Aten leadership buried the Onyx Cinder and SM-33 in the mountain to further hide any information about the planet's location? And what if SM-33 was at one point the real captain?
Oh, yeah. So I was going to bring that up, that like, I mean, what if he was the captain? That's very, very interesting. I think that there's a lot more about SM-33 than meets the eye. Transformers. So
he's gonna be a transformer.
it's Optimus.
I do like his I like the theory as well that like that the captain was actually working for At-Aten or was part of At-Aten, and that he ordered him, like he was like, which. We don't know how old SM-33 or the Onyx Cinder is, but like, I don't know, that could also connect back to Wendell or somebody that like, what if Wendell is like a descendant
Wendell's the captain? I'm just kidding.
Dude, I feel like, at first I was like, oh, what if Wendell is that? I was like, but no, he would have recognized the ship, like he doesn't seem like, it doesn't seem like he knows what's really going on, but he seems like he knows more than what everybody else does, even if it's just a little bit, right? Or like, I mean,
the Onyx Cinder, at least unless there were some major tech cover-ups there, it is old. That thing was is like terraformed over, when it was flying, it was pulling out all of the hills and roots with it.
I mean, and that's what Will is saying is like, what if it was buried intentionally? Like someone like landed it there and like crashed it and then like buried it? Because if they did that, then that would have happened a lot quicker than if it was just like it just crashed and then naturally happened,
Well, that would explain the fact that there is like a perimeter, like the droids say that you can't go like in the woods, you can't go past this area, you know. So that would explain that. So there's a bunch.
I don't know.
More what ifs.
Yeah.
More questions.
Also, speaking of like the age of the Onyx Cinder, like even down to like the way it has its thrusters, it seems like it's more old tech. Like it doesn't seem like, oh, this is, you know, just has kind of your standard run of the mill Falcon thrusters. It's like, no, it's got the quad thrusters on the front and the back. And even when it lands, it's like, it's got that kind of growl to it, you know, of like that fiery exhaust. So, which dude, the Onyx Cinder is so cool, dude. Like, that's what I know. You and we really like ships that feel kind of at home, and that's why like the Ghost is, you know, like my favorite ship. But this one is like really up there for me. That I'm like, I would love to see what a pristine model of whatever kind of ship the Onyx Cinder is. You know,
I'm willing to bet during its time it must have been top class, right?
Oh yeah.
I mean. I'm not really sure about the longevity of Star Wars technology, but this thing, like this rust bucket, has held on quite well. I mean, still being able to go through hyperspace and just kind of endure all of the damage that it has. And
like you would think that it'd be ruined, right?
Yeah, I mean, even SM-33 as a construct is still incredibly operable, given who knows how long it's been. At the very least hundreds of years. So yeah, I can't really say.
Yeah. There was, when you were talking, there was one moment that I wanted to mention, and it's a really good moment with Fern.
I was thinking about bringing that one up next.
Yeah, and it's just a small moment, but it's when, you know, they finally figure out the truth. And right before she kind of, you know, reactivates SM-33 to figure out what actually is going on. But she just has like this really good moment. She's just like, I have no idea what I'm doing. And Wim is like, you know, you'll figure it out. You do. And she's like, you just can't say that. You can't just say like, you'll figure it out and like expect that to happen, you know? But like, it made me upset even a little bit for Wim, because he was trying to be endearing, you know, like he was truly he says right before that, he's just like, you're amazing, you know, which is a total 180 from the beginning of the show where he was just like, I don't like y'all. Now he's just like, y'all are amazing. Like, you're amazing.
Well, she did that too. She said you'd be a better captain. Like she told Wim that he'd be a better captain. Like they're just,
and he was just like, no, I wouldn't. He's like, you're like, and it's just, it's good to see all of them growing and bonding together. You know, like they like, and it makes me excited for the future because like the show has been received really well, and they have stated that like they have considered, like they have talked or have designed or whatever of them doing a second season of the show, and it would be a little bit of a time jump when they because the kids are older now,
like Stranger Things part, not Stranger Things, I'm talking it part 2.
Right yeah. So like, well, I mean, kind of like Stranger Things as well, where like it's still the kids, but because they've aged in real life, they, you know. But I'm like of the firm belief that I'm like, if they make it through all these adventures and stuff, they were at the Battle of Exegol. Like, I just know it, right? Like, I know when and them were there, dude. And
the Onyx Cinder, like in pristine condition. Maybe they modified it and whatnot. Can you imagine,
really cool. Like, once Wim figures out more about the galaxy and about the Jedi and Luke Skywalker, and, you know, when he's older, for him to be like, to go to that battle and like just standing up to that sort of evil, like the stories that he read, you know, like that'd be really good, really great for him. I love when I see little pieces of fan art of characters that were at the Battle of Exegol in that fight. And I remember one of the earliest ones that I saw was if this was before Ahsoka too, but it was Jason Syndulla at the battle, and he's flying the Ghost alongside Chopper,
Man, we need more Jason content,
bro. See, so I watched a little bit of the behind the scenes of Ahsoka season 2 because I got the Steelbook, and there was 2 episodes with Dave commentary on it.
But behind the scenes of Ahsoka season 2.
Sorry, Ahsoka season 1.
Okay.
But I got the Steelbook. Yeah, Dave talked a little bit about Ahsoka season 2, and he just kind of teased some things of like it seems like it will not just be set in Peridia. Like we will also be getting more of the story in the main galaxy as well, which I'm kind of curious to see how that crosses over.
Yeah, because they would probably need to tie together in some way.
Yeah. I just, when my worry is, I'm just like, imagine it's just like Ezra goes back and they get back and it's like, well, dang, we gotta go. Like it's just like a back.
We have to go get Ahsoka Sabine, you know.
Yeah. And so I'm hoping it's not just like that again. But Dave was mentioning like things that he was considering for Ahsoka season 2. Like he was talking. He mentions like how everyone calls Chopper a war criminal. And he was just like, I didn't realize how many fans of Chopper there were. Like, he's just like, and I also didn't realize how many people thought he was a war criminal. And he laughed. He's like, I think that's really funny. So maybe we'll have him more in Ahsoka season 2, you know, like,
that's so good.
I'm
so happy he's aware
of him, like,
of
coming out of the rock and being like, oh my, and then, like, he's like, sir, have you seen how many people Chopper kills in Rebels? And he's just like, you know, it's like Mr. Incredible going through all of like the dead superheroes and the Incredibles, but it's Dave looking at all the victims of Chopper.
dude, Chopper has he's on a list.
Yeah,
he's on a list.
I think I remember someone did the math and like, because I think he like blows up some Star Destroyers and stuff, and it was like 14,000 victims or something. I don't know.
Goodness, now I gotta look into this. Let me see if this is a responsive Google search. How many people has Chopper killed?
Someone's got to done the math.
If you added up Chopper's kill count. Oh!
How much?
The total tally is a 49,997 estimated indirect kills using sabotage. So Chopper has either indirectly or indirectly killed an estimate of 50,000 individuals. So he's getting up there for sure.
Chopper is hyper lethal, bro. Like
Chopper, more like Butcher. Am I right? I mean,
yeah. They call him we're putting you on the chopping block, and they're like, what do you mean? And then he just like wop, wop, wop.
Yeah, all you hear is wop, 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 wop. Yeah.
No. Anyway, back to Skeleton Crew.
Skeleton Crew's good.
Yeah, it's good stuff. I don't have much more to discuss about the 2 episodes, other than I really did enjoy them, and I am just excited to see what the next half of the show holds. We get an episode on Christmas Eve, which I'm very excited for. Because, like, dude, I've just been like, I don't know if this season has been as similar to you or for anybody listening, but like, for a significant amount of time, Christmas time was also Star Wars time.
Yeah.
Because it was like, it was Force Awakens and then Rogue One and then The Last Jedi, and then it wasn't the year after, but then we got Mandalorian and Fallen Order and Rise of Skywalker all in the same year. And so like those just like, I remember like the merch coming out and you and I like talking about it in our little group chats and stuff when we were just becoming friends, like when we both went to go see Rogue One at the same time and then us just immediately talking about it on Twitter. And so this has been a very reigniting feeling for me, because it's like, this is a show that we are getting literally in the midst, because like the last time was Book of Boba Fett, but it started after Christmas. It was like on the threshold of New Year's, and so it really went more to January, whereas this is like started before Christmas, so it feels like we're kind of in the heart of it, you know. But yeah, so bundling
Holiday
up and
season,
watching
Star Wars season.
Ah man, I love it, dude. It's weird because it's like, Star Wars started as like being in May and being kind of like that summer blockbuster, but like I don't know, I just there's some sort of feeling I have about it being just around Christmas time. Maybe it's just seeing Force Awakens in theaters for the first time and then the second time in the same night with my dad,
Going to see Force Awakens in theaters is still one of my favorite movie experiences. There were so many people at the theater, and I remember how everybody cheered when the Star Wars logo came up, and it was just such a great time.
10 years next year, dude. 10 years.
It's been a long 10 years.
Yeah. Dude, man. Do you have any other remaining thoughts about Skeleton Crew? Any specific moments that you wanted to talk about with episodes 3 and 4 before?
I really feel like we covered everything.
Yeah.
Here's hoping the child soldiers get freed.
Yeah.
That would be good for them.
Dude.
I would like that.
Wim becomes a Jedi, goes back there with Neil as his pimp smuggler. And then he's just like, come here, baby. And then they save all of the Troik, and Neil gets married, and Wim becomes the greatest Jedi ever. Sorry, Luke Skywalker.
Imagine if Neil becomes like one of the biggest galactic badasses that Star Wars has ever seen.
Would love that, dude.
Like maybe he just needs that moment, I mean, all he had to do is just see this chick do a kickflip, and he's like, I gotta do that by the time I get back,
Yeah. I will say we talked a little. The last thing I'll say, we talked a little bit about Neil, and I did really like just his interactions with her, and him just kind of mentioning of like the most date oh, do you guys don't fight on your world? And he's just like, we played this game called Slapball,
I think he had mentioned like he got into a fight with his younger brother. And his younger brother stolen his toy or something, and then he like hit him over the head with it, and he was like, "I lost that fight." But he's such a sweet kid. I mean, honestly, I kind of hope that he can just have that peaceful life that he wants. But he's never gonna forget this chick. He's never gonna forget her. He's always like, even if he goes back home and everything's back to normal, he's always gonna go, I gotta get out of here, man. Like I think he found his reason.
What is he gonna think about the girl that he had a crush on back on Atten? Remember the
nothing?
Yeah, it's just like, you can't do kick flips. You can't kick down a door or slide down a bus.
I think he just, I don't know. Sometimes you just need a little kick out the door, and what better way to do it than young love,
Yeah.
Although I think one thing I would say is that I really want KB to have a moment, because I feel like out of all the kids, she probably has gotten the least amount of character development attention. Like she has cool moments where she's like, oh, I've calculated the but like
there's something I wanted to talk about KB because we mentioned it in the first two episodes when we were talking about where her parents and things like that. We get the confirmation in episode 3, but but they talk about when they're like, her parents are the most concerned, and it's I'm like, because she's also, we talked about like, oh, why does she have an implant when she's so young, and it maybe because like she has some sort of medical condition when she was younger. Like they seem like really concerned, like this is like, she should not be out doing this,
Yeah, they had said something like her parents had said something that I recall going, oh well, that explains the implant.
Right.
But I do not remember for the life of me what they said. So we'll have to I guess we'll just have to swing back to that the next time, like the next chance we get. Yeah. But yeah, I want to know more about her. Like, what is she all about? And what does she want? What does she want to do? I feel like she is just kind of going along with whatever Fern wants to do. I hope that she has some good character moments upcoming.
Yeah, because so far she's been a very like, kind of comparable to early seasons of Echo, in Bad Batch, where like he's just kind of there. You know?
Yeah, I will say, you know what? At the very least, she did have that moment where she spoke to the owl lady. And she was the one that refused to let Jod on the ship unless he told.
Stood up to him.
Yeah,
right.
she was like, "I'm not letting you on unless you tell me who you are." So like,
and you're like, and you work for us, you know?
Yeah. So I'll retract a little bit, but at the very least, I think maybe she should get some more attention, is what I'll say.
Yeah, I agree. I think we've got a lot of Wim and a lot of Neil, and we got a little bit of moment, that little moment from Fern, but I definitely would like to see, honestly, just like a little bit more from, just honestly, just her. Honestly, all of them. I like all of them. Obviously, this was a very Neil-centric episode. I think Wim was kind of, I don't want to say he was shoved to the side in this episode. He definitely wasn't, but he was not in the spotlight of this episode. But that's fine because the first couple of episodes were like really about him, you know?
Yeah, because Wim was enjoying this the entire time. He was like, dilapidated, cool. Look at this cannon. This is awesome. You know,
this is sick.
Although it was a good moment where him and Fern had that talk at the very least. So they sprinkled in a little bit in there, but I think this was absolutely Neil's episode.
Yeah.
That's good. I think other than that, I don't really have much else to say. No more notes.
I don't either. It was a good day for the Neil Nation fans.
Neil Nation, rise up.
Neil Nation, rise up, bro. Maybe do I need to get a Neil action figure? Maybe.
One final thing, actually. In the story recap, I remember like they were introducing their names to Jod, and I just remember it goes over to Neil and he's just like, Neil. And I remember like I remember laughing to myself, and I was like, if you didn't know that his name was Neil, it would almost be as if he was commanding him to kneel, like Neil. In just such a nonchalant way.
Connor and Seth did a really good little opening, or maybe it was even just like a meme or something, and it was from Kenobi. It was Vader, and they were like, I think it was Seth was there, and he was just like, you know, who do you like most in Skeleton Crew? And they just cut the part of Vader going, Neil.
I saw that. I saw that. That was so funny. I love that.
I was like, that's so clever. I love little stuff like that. Yeah. My little blue elephant giving that Rowley energy.
We love him, man.
I love him. Don't come. I wonder if he gets a moment with Wim where he's just like, don't come by my house.
We're done. Don't talk to me. Don't come by my house. We're done.
That would make me really sad, actually.
Dude, if Neil and Wim. Oh man, but dude, Wim is such a better friend to Neil than Greg is to Rowley. Greg is the like morally worst character in the Diary of a Wimpy Kid series. Bro. Man. Okay. That's a whole nother. I could do an episode on that.
Yeah. Next episode of Mortis FM, Diary of a Wimpy Kid.
Yeah. Welcome back to Rowley FM, everybody.
We're gonna read every single Diary of a Wimpy Kid book and watch every movie.
Yes. Stay tuned for the Diary of a Wimpy Kid live stream.
Dude, that's an April Fool's Day special if I've heard one. But you know what's not a fool? Do you want to do the chat pack?
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's do the chat pack. Listen, I already put my hand on number 70, so
watch this also be incredibly relevant to whatever we were talking about.
Not today.
Man, the one time I say it, I just had to say it.
You jinxed it.
Whatever.
Question number 70. Technology. Stormtroopers are chasing you, and you come across an Imperial Scout Walker and a fast speeder bike. Which would you choose to escape? I have a very clear answer.
To escape?
Yeah.
So troopers are chasing me on foot in a shuttle. It really depends. I mean, if I had a chicken walker, dude,
the way I'm taking it at face value in that they are on feet chasing you, and you
Okay,
you're in a hangar bay and you're like, speeder bike, ATST, you know?
Dude, I'm taking a speeder bike. I'm gone.
Oh, really?
I've always wanted to drive one. So if they don't,
the thing for me is speeder bike. Like after, especially, I don't know what kind of environment I'm in, but more often than not, unless I'm in like a big open field, there is a high chance I just smack into a wall and die. You know, ATSTs can walk pretty fast. Okay, like you see them in Empire, and also if I need to turn around, blow them up. Like I can take out a couple and then just but I mean I get the speeder bike thing. I just like, dude, those scout troopers in Return of the Jedi, they get obliterated, dude.
Dude, it is it's so, those things go so fast. Speeder bike is an understatement. That's like, it's like Mach 80 bike. More like. I mean, so I guess I see what you mean, and like that was my initial impression. I'm still gonna go with speeder bike because if they are on foot, I have the chance to get away, I'm getting away on that thing. You're not gonna catch up to me if I'm in an ATST. Even if I blow them up, it's gonna be a lot of damage, and like maybe more forces are gonna be able to see me. So I'm just looking at making a very quick getaway, just trying to disappear. And also, the chance to have a speeder bike for my own, what can I say?
It'd be pretty sick.
I really want one,
Yeah.
Even though it'd be the first time I would be driving it, so
if
I might blow up.
If I had a chance to have a land speeder, like Hans in the beginning of Solo, if I could learn how to drift a land speeder, bro, because the opening of Solo is like one of my favorites, and so if I could just be like, you know, oh my gosh, bro,
by my friend Needles,
who died doing this.
Yeah, he was like who something and died doing this.
Yeah, I think the Needles thing was the one when they're doing the Kessel Run, but then it was another friend in the opening, and he says like, this was done by my friend, and they were like, but oh my man, Solo, maybe we need to do a Solo retrospective just to talk about.
We absolutely do, and I want them to. How's that Lando movie doing, guys? Is it happening or not, huh?
According to Donald Glover, it's happening. Him and his brother are writing it. And if that's true, if that still happens, I am going to be so happy because they write nothing but peak.
Yeah.
You should, if people are interested in this, if you're not, it's fine. Cole, you should watch it. We've watched a little bit of it. Atlanta.
Oh yeah.
Phenomenal show. Like it is.
I gotta check that out.
It's short and sweet, maybe like 8 to 10 episodes a season. Really, their episodes don't go any longer than 30 minutes usually. Phenomenal. It's amazing writing. It's really funny. And Donald and his brother Steven both write that show. It's really freaking good. But that's neither here nor there. Before we end the episode, wanted to do a little bit of housekeeping stuff. We've been kind of doing these in batches, not bad batches. Good batches.
Good batches. Perfect.
We don't know if that's going to stay necessarily or not. We didn't really have any time last week to get around to an episode. Of course, we are now kind of hitting the Christmas season. So the plan here is obviously we did the first 2 episodes together and we did 3 and 4 together. We will likely probably be doing 5 and 6 together. If not, we might be able to get 5 out and then 6 and 7. We'll keep you posted. I'll be going out of town. I'm ping-ponging all over the East Coast. So it might be another couple weeks before you get another update from us, but we're going to try to put something out in the meantime, right around Christmas, so that at least there is some sort of content from the both of us, because I did really want to talk about episode 3, but unfortunately it just was not in the cards when it came to our schedules. So thank you for being patient with us, and we hope that it has been worthwhile for you.
Yeah. Stay tuned for more. What else you gonna do?
FM.
And everybody have a wonderful holiday.
Happy holidays. May the force be with you.
Always.